Hi, I'm Teresa from Phoenix Gate Crafts, and today I wanted to talk about alpaca. Alpaca is often compared to sheep's wool. However, the animal itself has more in common with a llama than anything else. It's compared to sheep's wool because it is an animal fiber and it is often used in a lot of the same items that sheep's wool is used in, but it is actually quite a bit different. So if you haven't already, go ahead and watch my video. I'm going to link it in the box down below. I did a complete analysis of wool already. So watch that so you understand a lot of the qualities that wool has. And I'm going to tell you which of those qualities are different for alpaca. So if wool in effect is like hair that makes a really good afro, alpaca is hair that has been teased to try and be curly, kind of like Hermione Granger's hair was supposed to be. It's not curly enough to make a true afro, but it's curly enough that it sticks to itself a little bit. So this is the hat I wore during the wool. And you'll see that it has a lot of structure to it. It's not really dangly or drapey. It moves because it's fabric, but it's a fairly stiff fiber. You can see how it's behaving. Alpaca, 100% alpaca, doesn't hold its shape as well. And the funny thing is these two are pretty much the same pattern. But the alpaca doesn't stand up very well. And that sums up the big deal with alpaca. Now, don't get me wrong, alpaca is freakishly soft. Wool never gets this soft. Also, alpaca is one of the warmest wools because, as you can see from my sleeve, it has a pretty fine, you see this up here? This is called a halo. Because alpaca hairs aren't nearly as curly as wool hairs, and they don't have the scales on them that wool fur does, wool hair, I think it's technically hair. It doesn't stay tucked into the spin as well. That's part of what makes it super soft. A lack of scales, a lack of scratchiness, a little bit less stiff, makes it super soft and super drapey, but it also makes it so it doesn't stay within the spin nearly as well. And you are far more likely, if you can see it here, to get pills. Now, pills aren't dangerous to the fabric by any stretch. You can just pull them off and throw them away. But the thing about pilling is it might indicate something else that alpaca is kind of notorious for. And that is shedding. So alpaca sheds like crazy. I am going to get up off of this couch after this and I'm going to brush it down with a lint roller, but I am still going to be finding black hairs and gathered black tufts for the next week or so, just because that's also the nature of alpaca. It's what makes it so soft, also makes it so it doesn't like to stay together. As a result, it also felts like crazy. And because it felts like crazy and there isn't a superwash process that it can go through to make it less felty, it just felts. So what does that mean for the items you can make with 100% alpaca? Well, hats are a really good option. They don't hold their shape very well, but they do look rather nice and they do feel very soft and they feel very warm because of that halo. They also make drapey items. So because it doesn't have that stretch and that memory, like I can stretch this, but not a particular amount actually. It kind of, it stretches because knitting stretches. It doesn't stretch because the fiber stretches. See this? I mean, it's moving, but it's not actually stretching in fiber. So it doesn't make for very good things like if you want a sweater that looks kind of puffy and round like a sweater and to hold its shape the way a sweater does, alpaca isn't very good. But if you don't mind a drapey sweater that doesn't hold form but makes you look long and lean, that's what alpaca is good for. It's really good for cowls, and it's really good for scarves. It also makes very good cardigans. So compared to a sweater, which you might want to have a bit more shape to it. So if you held up a sweater with waist shaping with wool, you'd be able to generally see that it kind of comes in and comes back out. You won't necessarily see that in a alpaca sweater. So alpaca does better for things like cardigans that are supposed to be a little bit drapey. For example, this cardigan looks really good on me. I did do some waist shaping, but you really can't tell because it really just kind of drapes and forms to my body as it exists now. In fact, let me show you. So you see this, and you see how it kind of comes in here. That's because this right here is my actual hip. That's tushy right here. And then this is my actual waistline, and this is my actual back. I am a slightly chunky person, so this is kind of the nature of it. And if I didn't hold it to me, you see how it pretty much just goes straight down. There is actual waist shaping in this garment, but you really can't see it very well. You see more what it's doing on my body than the actual shaping. See? So I really do highly recommend alpaca for cardigans, but just remember that pretty much all 100% alpaca is hand wash only, lay flat to dry. I would not, however, recommend alpaca for anything that's going to have a lot of wear and tear because it felts super fast. So I really wouldn't recommend it as, a 100% alpaca fiber for like mittens or gloves or socks. It doesn't hold its shape for socks. You're going to wind up with a heel that doesn't grab onto your foot. So your sock isn't going to stay on your foot very well. It's going to slide down as you move. It's also going to felt, which can affect the general size of it. And it's probably, ribbing isn't going to grip your ankle as well as you would like. So your socks are going to probably slide down your ankle. Now, that's 100% alpaca. But alpaca as part of a blend makes for excellent garments with some pretty decent wear. And the thing is, you don't need very much alpaca to feel the benefits of the alpaca in the yarn. 10% alpaca is enough to soften any yarn, and it's enough to add some warmth without detracting from, say, wool's natural stretch and memory, or the strength that nylon and silk can provide. So a very popular combination is about 75 or so percent superwash merino, about 10% alpaca, and 15% either nylon or silk. And that makes super soft, super warm socks or gloves. Anyway, I hope this helped you out. Tune in next time. I'm going through all the different fibers, and the next one I'm filming at least is going to be cotton. Happy crafting. Bye.